This video is brought to you by the FarmerKlein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 map first impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Ostenwalde. But before that, this video is brought to you by David and Soul Farmer. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Ostenwalde map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu. And as of the 1.0 release, this map is going to be available for PC players only. And the reason for that is, well, this map has two things that are going to be restrictive to PC players. And that is, one, multi-terrain angle, and two, it is a 4x map. So it is 4 times larger than a standard map. And we have yet to see a 4x map get released and stay released on the console platforms. Let me read you some of the description. Welcome to Ostenwalde in beautiful Münsterland. This map is a 4x map. It has 32 terrain angles, 201 fields, 1 gas station, 4 water purchase points, 14 viable forests, 6 possible player farmyards, 2 areas for building out additional farms or whatever you really want. We have 10 points of sale, a vehicle and livestock dealer, as well as a fire department for those wishing to use the emergency pack. Cell outlets and dealers do have opening and closing times. They will be opening at 8 a.m. and closing at 7 p.m. So don't expect to be able to complete those contracts late at night or super early in the morning. Lastly, you are going to find some meadows scattered around the map that are for cows. Now, this map has several required mods. So in addition to the mods we typically use, which are going to be additional field info, additional game settings, animal food overview, field lease, field calculator, precision farming, and straw harvest, we're also going to be making use of the Bunker Silo Classic Pack, community building, cow barn set, Dutch contractor shed, the Intercon E115 EP2, the German grain mill, the half-timbered farm buildings, the large old chicken coop, the potato haul large, salvage hauls package, silo plate, storage pack, VDI large storage halls, VDI pigsty, and VDI sheds and storages. I will tell you, if you load this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, you will find the farms are built out exactly how you see them here in new farm mode. In addition, you do have your starting machinery in all play modes. So really the only difference is going to be your bank balance and the fact that you do not own any land in those alternate game modes. Lastly, if you do load this map up with a low-end system made with integrated graphics or a very, very, very old GPU, you will be able to run this fairly well using my graphics settings that I did publish a video on. Put a tick up in the upper corner on that in this video. I was getting anywhere between 60 and 100 frames if I unlocked the frame rate on that particular system as I kind of flew around and looked around at all the various farms and sell points and such. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA itself. And one thing you're going to see, one, remember this is a 4x map, so all of these fields are much, much larger than they would just initially appear just looking at this screen. We do have all the standard crops available to us in Farm Sim 22. And if we take a look at our lands, you'll see in new farmer mode, we start out by owning farmland ID 10, 72, 163, 200, 132, and our main starting farm at farmland ID 245. Our starting farm can be bought for $638,000 if you are starting in any alternate game mode. And with respect to the other farm areas, well, we're going to have our chicken farm, which is, again, 245. We have a BGA located at farmland ID 243. That can be bought for $876,000. We have a pig farm at farmland ID 246. That can be bought for $790,000. We have 2 cow farms. One that is going to be at 238. That can be bought for $408,000. And farmland ID 217. And that can be bought for 1.1, or basically $1.2 million, and that does include a little bit of forestry area as well. And there are 2 distinct areas for those cows. We lastly have an arable farm at Farmland ID 241. And that can be bought for $600,000. We have buildable plots at Farmland ID 214 for $64,000 and 244 for $361,000. And then we have cow pastures at Farmland ID 102 for $137,000. Farmland ID 162 46 for $457,000, 45 for $373,000, and 157 for $234,000. I couldn't see where 162 is located. It's going to be in this general vicinity here. We'll pick it up during the flyover portion of the video. Right there, 162. $96,000. Let's go and take a look at our farmland lease screen. The farmland lease screen shows all of the viable farmlands, how large those farmlands are, if those farmlands include any field or fields, what is included. Then lastly, how much is that farmland going to cost us? Now, as we can see, looks like our farmlands and field numbers are lining up 1 for 1. As we continue to move up through here, we're already up to field 100. Remember, we have 201 fields on this particular map. As far as field sizes go, I've seen everywhere from like 1 hectare all the way up beyond 8 hectares in size. Let's go and take a look at our field calculator screen. This is going to show us our field sizes in particular. Then we can go back and cross-reference this with our farmland lease screen in order to see how large any one particular field is and how much it's going to cost to buy that particular field. Now, I think this map would be an excellent multiplayer map because, again, you have 6 possible player farm areas and 2 buildable areas. So you can have yourself up to 8 distinct farms on this map. So it could be an 8-way multiplayer with you have each farm is owned by a single person. It could be a 16-player multiplayer where you have teams of 2. Now, this map does have the generic soil map that is distributed with the precision farming mod. So let's go ahead and see how that is being applied to these fields. And given the high concentration of fields on this map, we get an extremely good look at that generic soil map. Let's go ahead and take a look at our crop counter. We do have a custom crop counter here on this particular map. And if we take a look down through our prices screen, you will see that we do indeed have the ability to sell and, quite frankly, buy all of the crops that are available to us in Farm Sim 22, as well as our eggs, wool, and milk, and our silage, hay, straw, and grass. As we continue down through all of our base game productions, we once again do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game productions that are again available to us in FS22. With respect to lime, we can buy and sell lime, and then we can also sell our stones if we are playing with stones enabled. Now, with respect to the Platinum expansion, we do indeed have the ability to sell all of the Platinum expansion production items as well. In addition, if you are playing with the Premium expansion, you can indeed sell Premium expansion productions and crops. If you are playing with the Straw Harvest add-on, you do have the ability to sell your hay and straw pellets. And then lastly, if you are playing with pumps and hoses, you do have the ability of selling your separated manure. We start out with a fairly modest list of starting equipment. It's all owned. None of it is leased. Now, I went ahead and purchased all of the farms and all of the cow pastures. So that is what we see here. When you start out, you only own 3 chicken coops. So you own the 2 large chicken coops and the chicken pasture. Those are the 3 things you own at the start. We do not have any animals at the start. We do have contracts available on this map. We do not own any production chains at the start. I've gone ahead and bought the BGA as it is one of the viable farmlands. So that is why we're seeing it here. But we do not own the BGA at the start. In addition, this map does have 100 Elm Creek collectibles. Let's go ahead and take a look at that starting fleet. We start out with the Fendt 724 Vario medium tractor. We've got the Kloss Tryon 750 harvester. For the harvester, we have the Conviflex 1080 grain header. And then we have the Nardi N6035 header trailer. We have the Fliegel ASW 271 trailer. The Amazon Cinto 4000 super cultivator. The Panager Terraceme C6F seeder. And then we wrap it up with a 750 kilogram front weight. This map does not have any custom vehicles or implements. Now with that, I'm just going to tab over to our starting farm location. And we'll take a little bit of a look around. First up, we have our chicken pasture. This is going to hold 50 chickens in total. Inside, we have our food trough. And then our eggs are going to spawn over here. It took me a while to find this spawn point, and this is going to be the egg spawn point. Because, oddly enough, you can sell everything here on this farm, with the exception of the chicken stuff. So this trigger stays, the food trough stays, and the chicken buy point stays. That's the only thing that stays on this farm. So I am 100% confident that that is indeed the egg trigger. We do have our sleep trigger here. And in the first bay, we have our silo dump point. In the second bay, we have our silo fill point. And the third bay is going to be for vehicle and implement storage. Another large shed here for storage of machines. And these buildings are configured such that you're going to have to go on the inside to open the large bays. Then we have 2 large chicken coop buildings. We have our food trough here. We have our chicken buy point. 2,000 chickens in each coop. And then inside here is where we're going to have our eggs spawn. And then for fun, we have the ability to raise and lower the little feeding buckets there. Like I said, we have 2 of these. They're identical to each other. The other one is right there. And that is pretty much the main starting farm here. Now, before we move on to our fly around portion of the map video, I do want to look at our animal food requirements just to see if there's any custom requirements for our animals here. Cows and sheep look fairly normal, and pigs, horses, and chickens look fairly normal. I think chickens have had a few bit more crops added to them as far as what is accepted. Wheat, barley, sorghum, soybeans, corn, oats, sunflowers, and canola. They typically don't have that many food inputs, but on this map you can pretty much deliver any grain to the chickens. Then everything else looks fairly standard. Well, this is predominantly a flat map. So what that means is you're not going to have any issue using maybe slightly underpowered machinery when it comes to matching up your tractors and your implements. So if you have an implement that says it requires 300 horsepower tractor, you might be able to get away with a 250 horsepower tractor, as opposed to if you were operating on a map with lots of hills, then you're probably going to need something more like a 350 horsepower tractor to get the same job done. So here we have our starting farm, and again, we can sell everything on this farm with the exception of the chicken triggers. Kind of interesting. Right across the street, we have one of those cow pastures, and if we want to use this for something other than cows, we can sell the triggers here. All you gotta do is go into build mode and sell the feed trough, which is right there. So we have our feed trough, we have our water, and we have our cow delivery point. 100 cows in this particular pasture. Now to the south of our starting farm, we have one of the two buildable zones. And I believe this is going to be zone 214 or farmland ID 214. And just south of that, we have another one of the cow pastures. So we have our water. The hot spots moved a little bit, but the trigger's in the right spot. We have our food, and again, you can sell this, and the triggers will go away. Then we have our cow delivery point. Another 100 cows in this pasture. The second buildable zone is going to be kind of to the south and east of the starting farm. This one's a fair bit larger than the other one. You're also seeing several fields with these windmills located in here. If you own the field, you are able to sell the windmill. So I did test this, not on every field, but I did test this on several other fields, and I was successful in selling the windmill on every field that I tried. You're also going to find that there are some high tension power towers that are crossing some fields. Those towers do have collisions. So your hired helpers are going to work around those, and you yourself are going to have to work around those. And if you're playing with something like Courseplay, you're going to have to factor those in. So down in the extreme southeast corner of the map, we do have our sawmill. Then we have another grain sell point here at the extreme southeast corner. Sorry, I misspoke. We have a water fill point. I was thinking that's where the hotspot was. As we continue now, coming across the eastern side of the map, we're going to have several areas here where we can buy and sell several products all at once. We have one of our stone crushers down below here. We also have a bale sell point, or a bale sell point, and we have buy points for slurry at this location. Now, with respect to the biogas plant, we do have a sleep trigger here at the BGA. So we have a farmhouse, then we have 4 large 3-sided bunkers. We have a machine shed, or I guess 2 machine sheds. We've got a scale, and then we have our BGA itself. I was successful in not only selling the biogas plant, if I owned that. If I owned the land, I was also successful in selling all the buildings except the scale. So the scale remained. I was able to sell everything else: the farmhouse, the 4 bunkers, the BGA, the 2 sheds. So if you buy this, you could clear it all out except for the scale house, And again, do whatever you wanted with this particular location. Over here we have another farm location. And we're going to go through these in better detail in a little bit. Here we have those fields with the power towers crossing over them. A lot of these fields should be fairly easily merged together as well. Just a few trees separating them and some paintable ground textures. Up here we have the large cow farm that has multiple large cow buildings with feeding robots, kind of separated into two distinct areas. So we have this area here with two pull-through silage bunkers, and this area right here with the farmhouse. More sell points and factories. Another one of our cow pastures. Again, 100 cows in total here at this cow pasture. Another cow pasture. And I'm willing to bet another 100. 200 in this one. Sorry. Got a little overzealous there. Now, we also have, in some of these fields, these little windmills. I was not successful in selling these windmills. So the windmills seem to be permanently a part of the map, and therefore permanently a part of this field. And then there's going to be another one located over here in field. There's another one located right here somewhere that had trees in it. I'm not seeing one here. And initially I loaded this map up and I saw this area empty in the farm manager mode, and it made me think, well, maybe it's not going to be there in farm manager, but it is there in new farmer mode, but that is not the case. At any rate, somewhere around here you might find another field with a windmill in it, and that one has a lot of trees growing out of it, but they are both permanently a part of the map. So up here we have the pig farm. Again, we're going to do a closer look at all of those when we get around to the fly around portion, or the drive around portion, I should say. You know, here we have a grain sell point as well as a lime, liquid fertilizer, and grain buy point. We have another water buy point located right there. Then here we have our animal dealer. We have our bale sell point. We have a manure and slurry buy point. Let's make my way back to the vehicle dealer, which is where we started this video out at. Buy our Mahindra and, well, start driving around. So back at the dealer, we have inside both of our triggers. So we're going to have to go inside in order to buy our machinery, as well as do our service. So a fairly large area for our machines to spawn. We will be somewhat limited by the width of the access out of the dealer. And remember, the dealer is going to have the same operating hours as all the sell points, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Here we have our dealer maintenance trigger. So buy, sell, trade, repaint, repair. And right across the street from the dealer, we have our bakery. So we didn't really talk about the production that's built into the map. We have 8 production items built in. So we have a sawmill, bakery, dairy, sugar mill, oil mill, cereal factory, flour mill, and the biogas plant itself. So here we have the fairly standard Morgan's Bakery from the base game. A little narrow getting in here, so just be a little bit cautious with respect to that. Let's just make our way around past the starting farm. And then we'll try to make ourselves a clockwise rotation. So over here to the left, we have our starting farm. And now we're coming diagonally to the southwest corner. Now some people might ask, well, how do you know if a map is for X or not? Well, it's very, very easy to tell, and it involves simply looking at the coordinates down at the mini-map on the screen. You see right now we have a 245-degree heading, and then the next set of numbers, we have basically it's decreasing 1200, 1100, and so forth. And then the next set of digits is increasing 3800, 3900 here in a little bit, 4000. Those are X, Y position coordinates. And a standard size map is going to have at the extreme northwest 0, 0 as the starting position, and at the extreme southeast 2048 by 2048. A 4X map is going to have at the extreme southeast 4096 by 4096, basically double. So if you have coordinates greater than 2048, then it's going to be a 4X map, or at least based on a 4X map area, and maybe the map is a little bit smaller than that. So over here we have one of our stone crushers. We have grain purchase, so we can buy wheat, barley, oat, canola, sorghum, olives, sunflower, soybeans, corn from here. We have a grain sell point as well. Now let's see if this road is going to take us over to our dairy. Our dairy's over here to our right. And what I do not know is if we're going to have a connecting road. We are not going to have a connecting road. How rude. So we'll just make our own way. Over here to our dairy. These are not auto gates. You will have to jump out. So we have just standard base game dairy here. So we have our interactive icon, our unload point, and our pallet spawn point. Kind of like the decorations around this. So I feel like this map is going to feel and play a lot larger than it really is because of how the roads are set up. I think you're going to be, if there's only one way to certain things, you're going to have to double back if you're trying to go to multiple locations. And generally then, the time that it takes for you to drive around to various sell points or buy points or production points to unload things and pick things up are going to be extended on this map because of how the road network is set up. Alright, here we have the animal dealer. So we have our animal dealer trigger here. Loving animated animals. Always love having animated animals here. This is going to be a sell point for our animal dealer. So we have manure, livestock, selling. We can buy feed. We can buy pig feed. So this is going to be TMR, pig feed. We can buy manure from here if we want to do organic fertilization or bale sell point. And then we're going to be able to purchase slurry from back there. So that's slurry purchase, manure purchase, TMR and TMR here, pig food here, and then bale sell over here. Don't hold your phone and drive, folks. That's dangerous. So there we have a windmill. That's going to be a water purchase point. That's over by field 79 and 80. Oh. Road signs do have collisions. I just clipped one. Well, these bollards, they're good. These little end markers. So this is going to be lime purchase. This is going to be liquid fertilizer purchase. And this is going to be another grain purchase. Then on the end, we have our grain sell point. There's this little dirt road. We field 66 and 68. It's not a totally flat map, but it's predominantly flat. Very, very subtle rolling hills. We're going to double back to our pig farm because we have our cereal factory over here. between fields 69 and 70. As I said earlier, I think this would be an excellent multiplayer map because you can have up to 8 farms on this map and either run them all independently, run a kind of a cooperative farming experience where farmers buy and sell and trade products that each other need. So, down at our cereal factory, we have all of our triggers around back. Really well done how this has been placed here and decorated up. So with respect to our map scoring, we are going to give the map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such, because again we have 8 production items pre-built into this map. We're also going to be giving the map a full point with respect to the ability to to sell all of our crops, base game productions, and animal outputs. In addition to that, you can sell premium and platinum expansion as well. Welcome to the pig farm. We have room for lots of machinery. Then we have our large industrial pig areas here. 460 pigs each in this facility. You have your slurry point, and then you have your food dump point right there. And the same holds for this building. An additional 460. Now there isn't a sleep trigger here at this farm, so you will have to put your own down if you are playing on that particular farm. And then with respect to, are the farms customizable? Well, we're going to take a quarter point off because we have the chicken triggers at the starting farm cannot be sold, which will impact your ability to customize that area somewhat if you are into making changes. And then at the BGA, since it does have a farmhouse, we're going to include that with the 6 farm areas that the description mentioned. And that also then has a scale house that can't be sold. So we have an interactive icon here at our sugar mill, or oil mill, sorry. Center dump and pallet point. Now, the fact that we can sell everything else at all the other farms, I feel like it's really probably an XML mistake that is hopefully going to get fixed in an update with respect to not being able to sell those 2 particular things. I was really hoping that there would be a crossroad up here, but I don't believe that there is going to be. So again, that kind of harkens back to there really only being one way sometimes to get to certain things. and maybe the need to double back. Some maps have like a loop road structure where you can pretty much get to anywhere from any road as long as you just stay on the road long enough. And other maps like this one are laid out with different road setups where really you have to go one specific way to get to one thing, one specific way to get to another, and so forth. Let's make our way westward. Already mentioned in the intro that I think this map is going to play very good even on lower end systems. So I test maps, I load them up and run around and just see how well the frames look in an unlocked state on a low end system that has integrated graphics and some customized settings for those graphics. And I was able to get anywhere between 60 to 100 frames if I went in and unlocked the frame rate. So I feel like you should be fairly adequate even with lower end systems or laptops that have just integrated graphics with the GPU and CPU together. If you haven't seen my video on low-end system optimization, then maybe check that video out. I do have a tick mark in the upper right corner. You go click on that and take a look at that after this particular video if you are suffering with frames and you do have an older graphics card or integrated graphics. We have our sugar mill over here by field 44. So again, base game, Glenwood sugar mill. Our power trigger around front, interactive trigger around front, and our dump point around the back. Over at cow pastures, here we have our flour mill. Our dump point, interactive point here on the side. Pallet point on the end. And then this is going to be a lime buy point. Another cow pasture over here to our right. This is going to take us over to our large cow area. We have our farmhouse located right here. Fuel point. A grain silo. Dump and fill point. And then we have two feeding robot cow areas. Right, so you're going to put your mineral feed here, your silage, your straw, your hay, and the feeding robot is going to take care of the rest. Give your slurry point. 500 cows in here. If you did want to feed manually, well, you do that here. This is where you're going to bring your straw. We have our milk trigger there as well. And then a little bit removed from that area is a second area that is part of the same farm. Over a 3-bay garage. 2 pull-through silage bunkers. And then we have another one of these feeding robot cow barns. They're going to hold another 500 cows. Let's double back and now make our way down the eastern edge of the map. We have a few more items to take a look at here. Tell you what, this lime is really impacting our drivability of the Mahindra here. To our right, we have a biomass heating plant. This is where we're going to be able to sell logs and wood chips. Going to be right there. Looks like that may also be set up as a bale sell point. Which would make sense because you could burn bales as well. Traffic's moving at a pretty good clip on this map. So you shouldn't get stuck behind super slow traffic. Over here we have a water buy trigger. Between fields 57 and 179. If we can make our way over by area 59. Oh, there we have another windmill in the middle of the field. There we go. Now, most of these houses have a dog house, and if you click on that dog house, you will be able to sell the deco items around the farm. So there we have our maintenance trigger. It's one of those sheds you have to be on the inside of. Another 500 cow barn here. Now this one does not have the feeding robot extension, so this is going to be manual feeding. We have our slurry point, we have our food, we have our milk, and straw triggers. With slurry storage, we have one pull-through silage bunker. Then we have bale storage for 500 bales or pallets. Then we have our grain storage silo right there. Now, here we go. $180. So I missed that in my earlier look at the map. 180 is another cow pasture for 100 cows. And all of those cow pastures, they are not set up with milk triggers or manure or slurry. They're going to be just pretty much, your best thing is going to be for your beef cattle at those locations. Between 180 and 174. We have a bale sell point. With a scale house. Not to be confused with schoolhouse. Here, is this the windmill that's got the tree growing in it? Yeah, this is it. So in field, what is this? 88. That's the field that had the windmill with the tree growing inside of it. Now, if you ever wondered, with all this driving around, where do I fill up my tractor? Well, right here. Right here between field 85 and 87 and 88. You're going to have your fuel point and, well, your firehouse. So if you do play with the emergency pack, well, this is where you're going to come to do your staging of your machinery or your emergency responding vehicles. With respect to buildings where appropriate are using new texturing technique and ground textures, we are going to be giving the map a full point there as well. I haven't shown you the build mode because, well, with so many required mods, of course, you've got custom buildings all over the place. But what you also have is a fair number of custom ground textures. And we're not necessarily going to place those down. I do want to show them to you. So under landscaping, painting, we do have several custom ground textures, some stamped concrete blocks, some stamped concrete. And then we do have the ability to paint in stones as well. So this is what I'm calling the arable farm. So we have our silo dump. And in the bay right next door, we have our silo fill. We have our sleep trigger, and then we got a couple sheds. And a pull-through silage bunker. That is pretty much what I'm calling the arable farm. We have our bakery, which we looked at earlier. Our dealer, which is where we started all this at. We need to take this road. Now, I don't recall too much traffic on these little roads earlier, but clearly we do have traffic on these little roads, so that is something to definitely be aware of. So here we have another grain buy point. We have a sell point, lime purchase now on the back. So grain buy, grain sell, and lime buy point there on the back. Then we have the biogas plant. Which, for the purposes of this video, we're going to go ahead and say is a player farm. Because it has been set up with a farmhouse. Right there, with wardrobe trigger as well. 4 3-sided bunkers. Those can be sold. The BGA itself can also be sold, as well as these large machine sheds. One thing that can't be sold is, again, the scale house. I'd love to know what you all think on this map. Is it something you're interested in playing in single player, multiplayer? Which farm do you like the most? So here we're going to have, once again, lime buy point, our stone crusher. We have root crop selling, and manure purchasing. So lime, stones, sugar beet, potatoes, carrots, parsnips, red beets, all sold there, and manure purchase, slurry purchase there. Three more areas to look at. One being a farmer's market style sell point. Really narrow to do a loop there. So it's worth taking note with respect to maybe the trailer size or the trailer type, which you might want to take over to that particular sell point. It seemed like it was fairly narrow to drive around the building, which means you may need to be backing into the building or turning around and need something that does a fairly tight turning radius. Then our last 2 points of interest are going to be down here toward the extreme southeast. And again, if you look at those coordinates down there, we're currently at 3,800 by 3,900. We have a water buy point. And then as we make our way to the last point of interest, which is going to be our sawmill, player interactive areas being clearly marked, we're going to give the map a full point there as well. It's going to wrap this up with a 4.75. The only place we really took off any points was with respect to the chicken triggers and the scale house that does not rock at the BGA. So there we have our pallet point, our wood chips off to the side, and then our wood cell trigger and dump point located right here at the entrance. So guys, I'd love to know again what you think down in the comments below with respect to this particular map. I think it would be great again for multiplayer. You've got 201 fields. You've got 8 possible play areas, 6 pre-built, 2 buildable. All the buildings are set up in all play modes. I think to make it fair, you need to come in and sell the starting machinery with respect to the starter farm, because the starter machinery is available in all play modes. Or maybe come in and delete all the buildings off of all the farms. And then you have 8 people that have to start out building their own farm, and then obviously buying their land and all of their machinery. Well, until next time, happy farming.